Hey, sports fans, it's world champion handicapper Mike North. Punch this number in your phone right now. If you're driving, pull over. 1-800-808-3419, 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country, VegasScoresAndOdds.com. It's the only site you'll ever need with expert handicappers like John Anthony, Denny Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, yours truly, and many more. Check out the homepage of VegasScoresAndOdds.com for a tote board with your buddy. Follow Vegas Scores and Odds on Twitter and dial up 1-800-808-3419. It's 1-800-808-3419, 1-800-808-3419, or go to VegasScoresAndOdds.com.
This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. Parental discretion is advised.
Fantasy football, Goon and Tooch. 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 Fantasy football,
Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
This is the week, ladies and gentlemen, that you find out if you are a pretender or not. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon podcast. I'm your host, Joe Mandel. Call me Joey Two Scoops. And joining me, as always, is my co-host and good buddy, John Santucci. Tooch, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you?
Doing well, man. Lots to talk about after this week of football.
Yeah.
And,
of course, big days for guys.
Lots of big games and days for guys. Of course, we're missing our buddy Spaceball. Had some other plans tonight, but Spaceball will be back with us next week. But Tooch, we don't have Spaceball, but Gaines wasn't able to join us tonight either, but Gaines was able to get us some audio, a new segment that we are going to call Getting Pumped with Gaines.
Oh, very nice.
So let's see what Gaines had to say, and we'll react to his audio afterwards.
Very cool.
So, Gaines, you're here in spirit with us, my friend. Let's see what you have to say.
This is Getting Pumped with Gaines.
My guys, Goon and Tooch on Fantasy Football Goon on Bears Barroom Network. Man, fellas, what an amazing, profitable, kind of sad if you're just a Bears fan. Week 5 it was totally impactful. You got sleepers stepping up across the board. But man, what I want to talk about real quick is some of the people that I saw that just really showed up. That really showed up in my eyes, because I know you guys got a couple yourselves. But for me, off the break, man, I gotta keep it home. Since we didn't get the W, I gotta shout out my man Allen Robinson. I mean, 7 catches, 97 yards. The dude is just catching everything. He's catching everything. To me, it doesn't matter what type of coverage it is. He's finding ways to get separation, and he's just on top of it. And so he's continue to look to that go-to receiver. Michael Thomas. I mean, what do we expect? We thought when Drew Brees went down that it might be a problem. Teddy's getting right back on the same page with the number 1 wide receiver threat. 11 catches, 182 yards, and just a couple TDs just for good measure. I mean, these are people that are just showing up at an alarming rate. That is just like, give these guys the ball, and you're guaranteed to be productive. And so, but then you got to give it, my man Godwin in Tampa. I mean, the dude, he went off. He straight went off. Anybody, after the injury, you didn't know how things were going to look and everything, but the guy just continues to be a productive target for Jameis Winston down there in Tampa. And guys, I mean, we expected Brady to do certain things against Washington, but it's the unsung heroes like Cortland Sutton, who was breaking tackles and taking it for 6. We got these unheralded heroes that are shaping up to be fantasy gold, if not just some great fantasy steals. And so Cortland Sutton becoming a very dependable, true target for Joe Flacco as the season continues. And so these are just some of the few guys that I'm pumped up about. And I want you guys to get pumped up with games as well. Goon and Tooch, tell everybody what you think, man. I'm going to continue to listen because I know you guys got a lot to share.
And that was getting pumped with games.
Oh, huge thank you to the Gaines Report, Tyler Ellis, for getting us some of that audio and some of his thoughts on this week's games. Tooch, what do you think about some of the guys that Gaines highlighted in there?
Oh man, yeah, Allen Robinson with one of the prettiest catches, amazing catches I've seen all year. That and Tyler Lockett's of Seattle. We saw two amazing catches this week, Joe. Don't know if you saw Tyler Lockett's in the corner of the end zone. Didn't think he had any chance of making that touchdown. That was beautiful. And Allen Robinson on the sideline getting drilled, tapping his toes down. Robinson with a big day. But, you know, Josh Jacobs did a lot of damage to the Bears in London, Joe. He had 34 fantasy points. He was 26 for 123 and 2 touchdowns, added 3 receptions. Like I said, 34 fantasy points. He was the high scorer for the Raiders in that one, Joe.
Yeah, and our guy Darren Waller didn't do much in that game, Tooch.
Not at all. He had 4 catches, 8 fantasy points. Derek Carr only 7 fantasy points. DeAndre Washington came in to spell Josh Jacobs. He threw up 12 fantasy points. But yeah, they were hurting us with a bunch of other guys like Fabian Moreau and Trevor Davis. You know, Allen Robinson, though, second leading scorer in that game with 29 fantasy points. 8 targets, 7 catches, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns receiving. A big day for him. Nobody did much else, Joe. It was a bad game all around for the Bears.
Yeah, it was pretty weak, I got to say. It was a weak performance, and it's kind of something we've started to see out of London games. But I will say the Raiders' running game seemed to have it worked out. As a Josh Jacobs owner in 4 out of my however many leagues I'm in, I was very happy with Josh Jacobs, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they bullied the Bears around on both lines. The Bears will have to go back to the drawing board. They're on a bye, along with 3 other teams. Joe, we've got 4 teams on a bye this week. The Bills, the Bears, the Raiders, and the Colts are all on bye, folks.
Yeah, it's tough. Bye week blues. Lots of guys you need to plug it in. And Tooch, before we get any further, someone in the chat room is upset with us, and I figured I would bring that up. So, John Kessick in the chat room says, "I'm mad at you, Joe and Tooch. What kind of special do you need to be to play Brissett over Dak Prescott?"
Well, that wasn't the question, though. It was like Brissett over someone else, I think. But, yeah, I mean, for me, Dak Prescott, 2 weeks ago, 7 fantasy points. So you figure he's got to come back to the mean. And that Packers Cowboys game, that was, expected to be, it's a Thursday night. Thursday night games are high scoring. Big story in that game, Joe, was Amari Cooper, Joe.
Oh, he's a beast. I have him in a lot of leagues as well. I was a happy camper.
It's, how he goes off every once in a while, Joe, with these huge, 200-yard games. And, this time 14 targets. 226 yards of touchdown at 49 fantasy points. But, like John Kessick said, Dak, 463 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 3 interceptions against that, really good Packers secondary. He had 32 fantasy points. Brissett, not as good. He had 11 fantasy points, Joe. So, that was a strange game. The over/under in that game was 56 points.
Yeah. Don't know what happened.
There were 29 points scored?
Yeah, it was so low scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll admit it. I had Brissett ranked really high. I had him in my top 10. And he had all the means to have a huge game. It just sometimes the games don't work out that way.
Yeah, it was a defense. The Colts defense played really well, Joe.
Yes, they did.
Of course, they're on a bye, so you can't stream them this week.
You could, but it probably wouldn't do too much for you.
I ended up streaming the 49ers. We had a little talk about that.
Yes, that worked out well
That
for you.
was 25 fantasy points, I think, something like that. So that helped me. The Browns in trouble, Joe.
Yes, they are.
Odell Beckham freelancing out there, Joe. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Jarvis Landry seems to be stepping up, and I don't know exactly what the heck is going on with Odell, but first off, that O-line play for the Browns has been nothing short of horrendous, and Baker can't get time to throw, and when he does, he's not accurate, Tooch. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. His accuracy does not seem to be there this year, and I'm in the point where I'm really considering dropping Baker. I'm not going to do it just yet, but he's in that territory now, Tooch.
Yeah, well, he's a buy low. I mean, if they switch up, you know, maybe their play caller. They're talking about switching up their play caller. They maybe, you know, it can't help. Change might be good. They're scuffling like the Bears. The Bears aren't putting up much points either. The Browns, you know, have a lot of skill position talent. You've got Nick Chubb and Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham.
Yep.
You know, yeah. It's puzzling. You know, their offensive line led a lot of that San Francisco front seven is tough. So I mean,
no doubt about it.
I talked about the Pete Prisco rankings. You know, I got to take back what I said about the 49ers being up at 3. They might be one of the top 3 teams, Joe. That front seven is tough. Their secondary is good too. Their defense is good. They got a lot of weapons on offense. You know, it's a timeshare virtually at every position except quarterback and tight end in that 49ers offense, Joe.
Yeah, but still, our sleeper of the week last week, Tooch, Matt Breida, guy absolutely erupting. And if Tevin Coleman's there, I think it just makes him better, really.
He went nuts, Joe.
He did. He had a massive game. He's a guy that people were just using as a flex or a running back 2, or for if you're in some leagues where you could have 3 running backs. He's getting utilized there. But I tell you what, Matt Breida, I think the rest of the season, I think he's a top 20 back. I really do. That O-line is playing great. And, of course, once Jimmy starts getting that pass game going a little bit more, which they did in the second half yesterday, then I really think that's going to open things up.
Well, here's the numbers, Joe. Only 14 touches for Matt Breida, but that produced 33 fantasy points. That has to be the best in the limited touches. The very first play, he got the ball, gone for an 82-yard touchdown, shot out of a cannon, waving bye-bye to the defense. George Kittle, 8 targets, 6 catches, 70 yards, and
they can't tackle him. Did you see that? They tried to tackle him. He just bounced off like he was the children trying to tackle him.
George Kittle coming back to life. Now, this 49ers team, after 4 games, is 4-0. They're hitting on, they're starting to round into midseason form a little early. Kittle, they gave the ball on a sweep, too, had 18 yards. He finishes with 21 fantasy points. Jimmy Garoppolo, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 19 fantasy points. But you got to figure the arrow pointing up for Jimmy Garoppolo. Tevin Coleman also got in on the game, Joe, at 16 carries, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points for Coleman. And the Browns couldn't stop anybody, Joe.
No, they can't, and that's pretty infuriating. Not only can they not stop anybody, Tooch, they have taken terrible penalties all around the board. And you have Harp here in the chat room talking about Freddie Kitchens. I think Freddie Kitchens might be the worst head coach in football, and I would be shocked if he is around for another couple weeks. I think if they lose again, I think he's gone.
Speaking of a guy who won't be around, Joe, Jay Gruden. Give him a pink slip this week.
Yeah. Not only did they give him a pink slip, Tooch, they called him in at 5 a.m. to the stadium, and then they gave him a pink slip.
Come on down. Daniel Snyder wants to see you. 5 a.m. I'm on my way.
Get out.
Get out. Yeah. No, the 49ers travel to Los Angeles to play the Rams. That should be a high-scoring game, Joe. One of the shootouts of this week. 49ers at the Rams. The Rams... that was a great game at Seattle, man. It came down to the last minute. And
a missed Zerline field goal, a rarity.
Oh, man. Cooper Kupp, 17 targets, Joe. 9 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. He finishes with 31 fantasy points. Joe, he's probably this year's Adam Thielen.
Yeah,
he's money,
absolutely.
money. But yeah, last year's Adam Thielen showed up this week though too. He had a decent game. So we had 2 Adam Thielens. One was named Cup though. I don't know if that makes any sense. But a guy I talked about last week on the Rams, Gerald Everett,
exploded.
You remember me talking to him? Might be a name.
You
might
did.
be a name to hear. With 11 targets, 7 catches, 136 yards from the tight end position. He finishes with 26 fantasy points, and nobody started him, I'm guessing, unless you were listening to old Tooch.
Well, I tell you what, people are going to be starting him next week because as Greg Olsen put up a 0 this week.
2 weeks, he's got 5 yards, Joe, the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, and people need something out of that tight end spot, so you know that Gerald Everett's going to be picked up in almost all leagues.
Yeah, and, Goff he had 517 yards the week before. This week he finishes with 395 yards passing, 25 fantasy points. Goff turning out to be, one of the top fantasy quarterbacks again, Joe. Now, where would you think Goff is right now in fantasy points? He's got some ground to make up, so he's really not as high as we think. He's had some big weeks, but
I'm going to go with 12th.
He's right behind Phillip Rivers, and he's 15th overall.
Oh, that was pretty close. Yeah. Well, Phillip put up a stinker this week too. I mean, the Chargers, I don't know what's going on with them, Tooch. Their team is sputtering. They can't seem to get it figured out. The defense is playing pretty good, but what the heck is going on with that offense?
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett right above Phillip Rivers, though. Dak Prescott is in the 7th position, Joe. So it's in the 6th position. So just FYI for comparing those two. As far as the Chargers, we welcomed back Melvin Gordon, who finishes with 31 yards rushing, only 7 fantasy points. If it was Austin Eckler again, Joe, he got 16 targets. 15 catches, 86 yards. Now, they were given that short pass to dump off to Austin Eckler all day long. Phillip Rivers said, I'll take that. But Rivers, again, only 4 fantasy points. He only had 211 yards against the tough Broncos defense, Joe. Keenan Allen, again, another stinker game. He was outscored by Mike Williams, who had 13 fantasy points. But do you expect Melvin Gordon to outpace Eckler, or do you think Eckler's going to be the higher of the scoring of the two backs?
So I think ultimately Gordon will eventually be the higher scoring back. They're going to work him back into it. But I do think they're going to be about 50-50 split. And then they have Justin Jackson available to spell each guy too. So I think they're going to utilize both, really. And I think they're both going to have value, as long as that offense can figure it out, Tooch, because they've been sputtering and they look awful. And I'm not sure if that's game plan. I'm not sure if that's preparation or what. But if they don't get it figured out soon, then we're not going to be playing any Chargers.
Well, they welcome the Steelers, Joe, who may not be may have lost another quarterback, Joe. Mason Rudolph in the concussion protocol. He's replaced by Devlin Hodges. Devlin Hodges?
Yeah, something like that. And they're so rich in Pittsburgh, they can't afford a medical cart, Tooch.
Well,
Did you see that?
I did, Joe. That's horrible. Oh, my gosh. And Juju came back, Joe. Is Juju a sell high now? He had 18 fantasy points, 7 targets, 7 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Do you sell Juju high here?
Yeah, I would.
I'm thinking.
Sell him, and if you want to roll the dice, give him another week.
Yeah.
And
without Big Ben, it's
it's tough.
It's tough. We were, losing Big Ben, very, very tough on the Steelers. Their playoff chances dwindling. James Conner, is he a sell high too, Joe?
No, and I'm going to tell you why you should hold on to James Conner. One, the Steelers' schedule. So let me pull up the schedule quickly.
Yeah, he had 55 yards rushing and a touchdown, but no catches, only 11 fantasy points this past week.
Yeah, so the schedule is one reason why, and volume is two, because we talked about it earlier, Tooch. Jalen Samuels had a knee scope.
Yep.
He's going to be out about 4 weeks, I believe Tomlin said today. So as long as James Conner can stay healthy, he's going to get a lot of touches over the next 4 weeks and probably the rest of the season. So we have that going.
Hold him. What if you get some trade offers for him?
Well, it depends what the offers are, Tooch. So let me read you the rest of the schedule that we have for the Steelers, okay?
Yes, sir.
So obviously they lost to Baltimore yesterday, but here we go. So we got the Chargers this week, like we said. Bye week, Miami, Indianapolis, the Rams, the Browns, the Bengals, the Browns, the Cardinals, and the Buffalo Bills, followed by the Jets. So that's a finger-licking good schedule for the most part.
Yeah.
So James Conner's a guy I'm holding on to. Right now, I don't think you're going to get anything worthy in a trade, at least in my opinion. I don't think you're going to get what you paid for him in your draft. So I think James Conner is going to put it together the second half of the season, and I'm really expecting good things out of him as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the Chargers in that game, though. But the Ravens is another story, Joe. Lamar Jackson, only 13 fantasy points. He drops to 5th place overall for quarterbacks, and Matt Ryan slides into position number 4. You know, the Falcons games turning into shootouts, Joe. Matt Ryan having, 300-yard games, no problem. But Julio Jones, he's missing from this one, Joe.
He is, and it's funny. We actually have a question in the chat room from John Kessick. Is Matt Ryan holding Julio Jones back? And I don't think so. I just can't figure out why they're not using him.
Well, the offensive line isn't that good.
That's what's holding him back.
Matt Ryan is taking what he can get. Mohamed Sanu and Calvin Ridley also opened. Devontae Freeman had 5 catches as well. Freeman finishes with 18 fantasy points. Matt Ryan had 37 fantasy points, Joe. Mohamed Sanu with 15. Austin Hooper, 9 targets, 6 catches, and 56 yards, 13 fantasy points. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Austin Hooper is your number 1 fantasy tight end on the season, Joe. I just have to effort that, though, as far as scoring. Sorry. He is right behind Evan Engram. He's 2nd. Austin Hooper. It's Evan Engram, Austin Hooper, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and Darren Waller. And right behind him is my guy, Joe, in 6th place.
Who is it?
Another solid guy, Will Dissing.
I had a
6 overall for an undrafted tight end here, Joe.
Yeah, that's doing pretty good there, too.
Yep, he's 1 spot ahead of Zach Ertz. George Kittle down a little bit farther. He's 1, 2, 3 spots behind Disley in 9th. So, but yeah, Austin Hooper. You probably got him real late.
Yeah, that's probably a 9th rounder, 8th rounder.
He's got 34 catches already. Darren Waller's got 37. And he leads all tight ends. Behind him is Evan Engram with 33. So
I got Darren Waller in the last pick in a couple of drafts, so I feel good about that.
Right now he's on a bye, Joe.
Yes, he is.
Who are we recommending for people to stream this week if you're starting Darren Waller?
You talked about him a little while ago, Tooch. Gerald Everett. You got to get him for the Rams.
I think so, Joe. He's right behind George Kittle. Only 3 points behind George Kittle.
So there's a lot of tight ends that are actually available. Jimmy Graham is a good option.
Yes,
because
with Devontae Adams out.
Exactly. Devontae Adams is out. Jimmy Graham's going to be a red zone threat. A guy that you and I, Tooch, we've been talking about quite a bit, Noah Fant for the Broncos. Joe Flacco looks his way a lot. Granted, last week he only had 1 catch, but he gets this week he gets the Titans, and then he gets the Chiefs. Both teams not very good against the tight end, so I like that.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, no, one guy's coming back from suspension at the tight end position, Joe. You know who I'm talking about?
You're talking about Chris Herndon, Tooch.
Right, on the Jets, but Adam Gase's offense hasn't really used the tight end. I picked him up. I don't know if he's going to really do anything, but I tell you, he is one athletic dude. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, and he's fast. So maybe Adam Gase will figure out he's got to use Chris Herndon to start putting some points on there because that offense has been all Le'Veon Bell.
It has. It really has been all Le'Veon Bell. And, that's tough. It's tough to get a guy out there. You got other offensive weapons on that team, but they're not really using them. Robbie Anderson's been MIA.
Yes.
And
Crowder MIA.
Yeah, and Darnold is going to be coming back probably next week, or AKA this week. I don't know. They've been talking about it. I know he's
that's
dealing.
Going to help.
It's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
They get a guy that can chuck it. So you look for them to get better. I love Chris Herndon. I think he is going to be a top 10 tight end the rest of the way. He's that good of a player. Like you said, he's athletic. He's been a PPR machine in the past.
Yep.
So you got to look his way for that. So he's a guy you can...
We got a question in the chat room from some guy named Aldo Gandia. You heard of this guy?
Who could that be? Yes, of course, Aldo. What do you got, Aldo?
He says, anyone know how long Devontae Adams is going to be out? Devontae Adams has turf toe, I think, right, Joe?
Yeah, turf toe always lingers. So I think, turf toe, I've seen anywhere from, I've seen guys out 2 weeks all the way up to probably 6. So if I had to pinpoint it, I'd put it right in the middle at 4. So I'm willing to bet he'll be out about a month. But, we'll wait and see. Keep an eye on that situation. But the Packers look like they're doing just fine without him, Tooch.
Yeah, they're doing okay. He's week to week right now, Joe. He sustained the injury week 4's Thursday night game against the Eagles. So he might return. He's questionable to return this week from his turf toe. I'll have to keep an update on it. Maybe check Dr. Chow's website, profootballdoc.com.
Yeah.
Right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Do that. Friend of the network. And, also keep an eye on the Fantasy Football Goon Twitter. You can check out our individual Twitters, Joe Mandel, Santucci_John. We'll keep our finger close to the pulse on what's going on with Devontae Adams. And, of course, check out our rankings every week.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to think about it, Tooch. This Packers team, who did they use, Tooch? A guy that I was high on to start the year, and I'm talking about Aaron Jones. He's a guy
Huge
that
game.
finally showed all his potential, and I really think they're going to start using him the way he demands to be used. So, Tooch... He was my pick on Tailgate Show, right, Joe? Yes, he was
running back.
He was your start of the week for running back on the Tailgate Show, and my sleeper pick of the week was Matt Breida. So we had a pretty good afternoon there.
Pretty good week. Let's see. So I want to tell you about how big the Lions and Packers are playing Monday night. So Aaron Jones, 17 for 104 and 4 rushing touchdowns, Joe. He also had 7 catches for 75 yards on 8 targets. 54 fantasy points.
Beast.
He was not the high scorer of the week, though, Joe. Did you know that?
He was not the high scorer of the week. Let me think.
For the whole NFL.
Whole NFL. Think. Christian McCaffrey.
Close, but it was Will Fuller V.
Oh.
He had 16 targets, 14 catches, 217 yards, and 3 touchdowns, receiving for 62 fantasy points. Deshaun Watson, 5 touchdowns, man. He had 57 fantasy points. I'm telling you, there's 2 quarterbacks I love watching this season. Patrick Mahomes, one of them. If you watch the Colt games, he's running around, slinging it. His arm is so good. And Deshaun Watson. These 2 guys have very quickly taken over the NFL quarterback, thrones there.
It's very unfortunate
Don't you just
for
love
us Bear
them?
fans.
I know. Don't you just love watching those 2 play, Joe?
I do. They're electric. It's great for the game of football, Tooch. And I tell you that
Great for fantasy.
it's great for fantasy. It's great for football,
And they're playing each other next week, Joe.
Holy
Head to
crap!
head.
You're right.
Texans at the Chiefs, Joe. That's going to be 100 over/under. I'm really excited if everyone in the audience can tell.
Do you think they're going to score 100 points, Tooch?
Oh, I think so, man. This is going to be like a 55 to 54 game, man.
The highest over/under of all time.
Yeah, I loved Patrick Mahomes coming out of the draft. I was hoping the Bears would draft him. Then I was like, well, Deshaun Watson, NCAA championship, he's pretty damn good too. And the Bears had something else in mind, but we'll see if Mitch can keep pace with those two, Joe.
Yeah, only time will tell, really. He's our guy, so we're gonna root for our guy. It's just it's tough seeing these other guys have so much success right away.
He's got the talent. Those other two played a lot more college games than Mitch, and they were able to step into the NFL, quarterback mantle a little bit quicker. So, but that game, Joe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one next week, Tooch. And
but
I tell you what, though, the Chiefs didn't look so hot on Sunday night.
And who's Byron Pringle? I love Pringles, Joe. They got a lot of different flavors. Kansas City got a lot of different flavors of fantasy players, Joe.
Yeah, Byron Pringle sounds like he's the inventor of the Pringle, Tooch.
My favorite Pringle flavor has always been sour cream and onion, though, Joe. So.
You mean strawberry shake?
It's making a strawberry shake.
We've got strawberries and blueberries, and hopefully my wife and I will sit down. But she is sleeping. Rest her. She has to go to work late tonight. She works the night shift. Bless her heart.
God bless her.
Yep.
God bless her heart, Tooch. But
and Damian Williams came back too, Joe.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't do much.
Yeah, that team didn't do much in general.
Colts defense underrated, huh, Joe?
I would say so. Frank Reich is a hell of a coach, and that defense is very good, as well as that offense. I'm shocked the defense was as good as it was in this game, but you know what? We got to take what we can get in fantasy and just move on to the next week.
So, Joe, I do have a quick question for you, though. I was wondering if you knew, and you could give some advice for teams who have, like, for example, the Bears defense is on a bye this week. And who do you think we could stream? Now, the top three defenses. Do you know what the top defense in scoring, fantasy point scoring is, Joe? Nobody else is near them.
I was going to say the Patriots, but I think it's going to be the Eagles.
It is the Patriots with 100 fantasy points. The next closest is San Francisco with 60, and San Francisco's only played 4 games. But New England has had 5 sacks in each one of their games, Joe.
Their defense is so good.
5 sacks. Well, almost 5 sacks. They had 24 sacks. So almost 5 sacks every game. They've got 11 interceptions. The next closest to San Francisco is 7. They've scored 3 touchdowns. San Francisco has 2. The Bears have 1. Bears are in 3rd. And Carolina, Joe, who can really rush the passer this season, they're in 4th, right behind the Bears. And then Tennessee rounds out the top 5, but Philadelphia is number 6, Joe.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of good defenses right there. People laughed at me, Tooch, when I took the Patriots defense in almost all of my drafts. I took them, I think in probably the 10th round, 11th round, something like that. I got
sniped. In all the mock drafts I did, Joe, I was taking them like last round. Nobody else was taking them. So that was my plan. But in all the drafts I did for real, they went a lot higher.
Absolutely, man. And speaking of the Patriots, Tooch, they're kicking things off on Thursday night this week coming up. So they get to go they're going to be at home against the Giants.
Yep, slaughter. Just kidding.
Bring me the head of Daniel Jones.
We need to look back at that game, though, because Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard are both injured, Joe. Looks like Golden Tate might be the top receiver there.
He will
Darius Slayton, though, was the top point scorer. He had 5 targets, 4 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. The speedy Darius Slayton, Daniel Jones, only 182 yards and a touchdown and an interception. But Evan Ingram, 11 targets, 6 catches, 42 yards. But he's questionable. And Sterling Shepard is in the concussion protocol. He is doubtful.
And Tooch, it looks like they're getting a shot in the arm, though. It sounds like Saquon Barkley is planning to play in this game. He is questionable, but all the reports are that he's going to try to give it a go on Thursday. So even if you get 3/4 of Saquon Barkley, you're taking every bit of that 3/4.
Yeah, now, the Patriots, here we go. Tom Brady, 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. Julian Edelman, big day, Joe. 9 targets, 8 catches, 110 yards, and 1 reception. I think he was one of your guys that you picked. Sony Michel, 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 3 catches. James White, 9 targets, 6 catches. Also threw in 26 yards rushing. The tight end position, they let Ben Watson go. Ryan Izzo is the guy. He had 2 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Gordon, 5 for 59. No touchdowns, but you got to expect that's going to change. I expect Josh Gordon to, be kind of a late season star. And
of course.
The Patriots matchups against the pass are easy. Do you stream any of these guys? Ryan Izzo, a streamer at tight end, Joe?
No, and I'm going to tell you why. You can't trust these guys because you don't know what they're going to do. Like, if you're playing a tight end and it's a top guy that gets shut out, I feel okay about it. But if you take a shot on somebody and they shit the bed, that really makes you feel like crap. So I'm going to take a pass on that. But what I am going to do is I do think these Giants there's going to be some good Giants in this game, Tooch. I don't think that New England is going to lose by any means, but I think Daniel Jones has a decent game here. I would consider streaming him if you're desperate. Time. Yeah, they're going to be playing from behind, right?
Yeah,
and they're going to be throwing the ball.
I think about picking up Golden Tate and Darius Slayton, one of those guys, maybe if you're desperate for a flex wide receiver.
Yeah, I feel really good about that. And I think, Daniel Jones, Golden Tate, whoever you can get that's a starting wide receiver in that game on both sides of the ball, you're going to fire them up. But I do have to talk about Philip Dorsett, who got shut out last week.
Yeah.
0 fantasy points. There's a guy that's going to rebound. I feel better about him in this matchup, Tooch, because I feel like he's going to get a lot of single coverage, probably working out of the slot alongside Edelman. But I do think that the Patriots are in on Stephon Diggs. I think they've probably had conversations with the Vikings.
Wow.
So obviously Stephon Diggs not happy in Minnesota. He wants out. Apparently there's a bunch of teams that want him. And
another good spot for him would be the Chiefs, Joe.
Well, there's a bunch of teams that are calling, Tooch, it sounds like. Diggs has been having this mysterious back injury, which I believe is a bunch of hogwash, saying we don't want you to get hurt before we trade you.
Right.
But keep an eye on that.
Packers might be a good landing spot, but I don't think the Vikings are going to trade him within the division.
No, they won't.
But another big, should be a fairly high-scoring game, Joe, and it's another game in London. That's the Panthers at the Bucks, and your guy, C-Mac, one of your picks to click, 19 carries, 176 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 9 targets, 6 catches, 61 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. He has 52 fantasy points. He was going head-to-head with Aaron Jones all day, Joe. 2 of the big studs at running back this week.
Tucci, Christian McCaffrey leads the league in yards from scrimmage. He's an absolute monster. He has more yards of offense generated than the entire New York Jets team. Christian McCaffrey, 866 yards total. The Jets, 718, Tooch.
Yeah. There's not really anybody else. Nobody else is doing anything in there either, though, Joe. It's all him. It's all him. There's no DJ Moore. Greg Olson's been shut out the past 2 weeks. Curtis Samuel. I'll tell you though, on the other side of that game, there's one guy on the Buccaneers who is the #1 fantasy scoring wide receiver. Do you know who it is, Joe?
Yes, it's Chris Godwin, Tooch.
Just like we planned it, right, Joe? The top 5. Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, and DJ Chark. DJ Chark.
DJ Chark.
Who would have thought DJ Chark rounds out your top 5, Joe?
It's pretty incredible, and that Jacksonville team is interesting right now. Jalen Ramsey's a whole nother story too, Chad. It's been a wild year in the NFL.
Yep, Cooper Kupp too, Joe. Man, Keenan Allen still up there, Julio Jones, and Will Fuller V jumped from the number 66 wide receiver all the way up to 8. 58 spots with that one monster game. Isn't that like Will Fuller, though, Joe?
Yes, it is.
Every year he's like a lottery ticket. I doubt anyone started him. I mean, there weren't a lot of people starting him. But, man, if you played C-Mac, Aaron Jones, and Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson in DraftKings, you were riding to the bank.
Well, Tooch, I will tell you this much, though. Will Fuller really benefited from the absence of Kenny Stills in this game, so you're not going to get this kind of production every single week. Kenny Stills didn't play, and they think really highly of Kenny Stills there. So I love Will Fuller. I think he's a great option. I just don't think you're going to see this kind of performance week in, week out.
We'll see, though. I mean, that Texans offense humming with Deshaun Watson. He had 16 targets. We'll see, though. You got DeAndre Hopkins still there. But, yeah, that game against the Chiefs, we're going to see, those receivers, going head-to-head against the Chiefs DBs, man. That's going to be a great game, Joe. And Mike Evans shut out for the Buccaneers last week, Joe. Got to figure he's going to come back to the mean. Bounce back in store for Mike Evans.
Oh, yeah. He's got a nice matchup against that Carolina defense. They're going to pay a lot of attention to Godwin. But the thing I'm getting pissed off about is what the heck's going on with O.J. Howard. I mean, he's dropped territory now. He's a guy that can no longer be owned.
Yeah, I asked you that question Saturday with the Barfly Tailgate, Joe, I think.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, and I dropped him personally. I dropped him. I need to get some production, Joe, from that position. I drafted him. I think he was a 5th or 6th round pick for me.
It's pretty rough. I felt so good about it too, and just think, Tooch, I could have taken Will Dissly instead.
I know. We all could have had Will Dissly, Joe. Will Dissly, though, man, good route runner, and good athlete, good receiver. But we couldn't have predicted this top 5. We couldn't have predicted the top 5 tight ends. There's no way. So.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year for tight ends, no doubt.
I want to talk about another guy I picked, Joe, was Tyler Boyd. I said would have a big game. Yes. He finishes with 14 targets, 10 catches, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was a big game for Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, boy.
So if you started him, you listened to old Tooch, you were rewarded a little bit there. Sometimes, I get them right, but sometimes I get them wrong too, Joe.
Hey, man, nobody's perfect, but I tell you what, we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, the Bengals are going to the Ravens, I think so. Ravens, is that right? Bengals at Ravens?
The Bengals are at the Ravens. That is correct.
Right. You got to figure big day for Lamar Jackson coming, Joe?
I would hope so. If he doesn't have a huge day against the Bengals, then I have no faith in fantasy land.
Yeah, I think so. It could be a big day for Mark Ingram, too. Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. Watch out there. Any other games you're looking forward to, Joe?
Well, I wanted to mention one quick thing about the Panthers-Bucks game.
Yeah.
It's an early game, Tooch, so for people setting your lineups, don't forget that because of the time change in London, it's a day game in London. Right. So that means it's a 9:30 start Eastern, 8:30 Central, which, let me do the math, it's 6:30.
That's what I was thinking the
Pacific.
Bears game was. I was like asking if it was going to be, like in the morning.
It was a night game in London, so that's why it was a day game here. But it's an early start, so get your Panthers and your Bucks in your lineups on Sunday morning.
Right.
You don't want to forget about that, so make sure you do that.
So, Joe, aside from the Texans and Chiefs and the 49ers and Rams, you got to be looking at that Falcons-Cardinals game for some fantasy points there.
That's where I was going next, Tooch. I was going to say that's going to be...
It's like we've been doing the show together for 3 years.
Yes, I think it's probably been a little bit more than that, but yes, it's like we know where we're going, Tooch. And
right on.
The Falcons going down to play the Cardinals in the desert, and man, both defenses here, Tooch, have not been great by any means, and I just think it's going to be fantasy points all over the place. The Falcons can't stop anybody. Kyler Murray's probably going to run all over them. Look for Larry Fitzgerald to have a real nice game here, and David Johnson as well. David Johnson, a top 5 play this week. And Tooch, the Falcons, you got to look at Matt Ryan to be a top 5 quarterback player this week as well.
Yep.
Julio Jones is going to come back into the fantasy explosion.
He's got
for all of you fantasy owners, Julio's going to be back on the map this week.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And
One other guy to think about, though, Joe, if you're looking for a wide receiver with these buys going on, Mohamed Sanu is out-snapping Calvin Ridley. He's out-scoring Calvin Ridley, too. Mohamed Sanu does a lot of work out of the slot. He could be in line for a big game, but I'm with you with Julio Jones, man. But Kyler Murray, has scored pretty well the past couple weeks. He hasn't been doing it as much through the air. He had 93 yards rushing and a touchdown last week. He finished with 25 fantasy points. That's nothing to sneeze at. Do you think bigger days are in store for Kyler Murray, Joe?
I do, and I think Kyler Murray is a matchup-based quarterback, Tooch. If he gets a bad defense, you're going to play him. So he's the kind like the Falcons. Good, very good. So yeah, you're going to play him when he's got a good matchup. He's going to run all over you. He's going to chuck it deep. It's going to be a good fantasy day for him. I love him in daily fantasy, Tooch. Kyler Murray is going to be cheap as hell, and that's what I love in daily fantasy. Yep. I did want to touch upon a bold prediction for this game, Tooch.
All right,
and I told you that I love Julio Jones in this game.
So do I.
He's not going to be the highest scoring fantasy player in this game. That's going to go to Austin Hooper.
Wow, bold prediction, my friend. How about the low-scoring games, Joe, like Titans and Broncos? You want to stay away from that. Probably the Steelers and Chargers. Maybe the Lions and Packers you're staying away from. But the Cowboys at the Jets, I mean, they've got potential to explode. That Jets secondary is weak. Tell Kessick he's got to think about starting Dak Prescott this week so he can get that victory.
John, if you're still listening, buddy, start Dak Prescott. But there's tons of options there. I really
have one more. But when you're done, Joe, I was going to say that the number one team against the run is the Eagles, and they are going up against the number one rusher in the NFL, Dalvin Cook.
Well, look what happened with him a few weeks ago in Chicago, though.
That's right. Now, the Vikings are going to have to throw, right, Joe?
They have no chance.
So, another big game from Adam Thielen coming, Joe?
Yes, I do. I love Thielen in this game. They're going to be throwing the ball quickly. That's kind of why they had success last time around. I love Packers,
Adam Thielen. What is his name? Aaron Rodgers had 422 yards against the Eagles the week before. So, Kirk Cousins might be a good quarterback streaming option as much as
he's available.
He's available in a lot of leagues, man. He had 306 yards and 2 touchdowns, 29 fantasy points last week. So, if you are thinking of you need a quarterback, your guys on bye, Kirk Cousins might be a good game. People have been lighting up the Eagles secondary.
Absolutely. And Tooch, you have a special message in the chat room from John Kessick. He says, "Screw you, Tooch." God bless you, sir.
I did have some real quick things I wanted to get to before we sign off, and you go to Shy Fans in the Stands with Greg Braggs, who's in Twitter prison right now. But
yes, hashtag free Greg Braggs.
Hashtag free Greg Braggs. Now, I want to ask you if you know who the NFL leaders in total touches without scoring a touchdown in 2019 are, Joe.
Total touches without
a touchdown. Yep. And any guys on these, of course, this is before the Monday night game. So the Monday night game, actually, our buddy broke through that plateau. So I'll just give you the other 4.
Darren Waller.
Nope. But it is Royce Freeman with 71 touches, no touchdowns. He's on the top. Miles Sanders with 63 touches and no touchdowns. Chris Thompson, 45 touches, no touchdowns. And Kenyon Drake, 44 touches and 0 touchdowns. So those are your top NFL leaders without a touchdown in total touches.
Wow.
Yep. Now, I do have another thing I wanted to give to our audience, Joe, and that is a simple formula on how to stream a top 5 defense special teams. When you're streaming defenses, you want to look for 1, is that team favored to win? 2, are they playing at home? And 3, the game has a low over-under. So if you're trying to choose between streaming defenses, take those 3 points into considerations. That's what I do. Team 1, favored to win. 2, playing at home. 3, game has a low over-under. If you need a tiebreaker, you think, are they a good defense in real life? Yes or no. Are they playing against a rookie quarterback? Yes or no.
Yeah.
So that's some good way to get your streaming defense going. That's how I picked the 49ers last week, Joe.
I love it, Tooch. Dropping little dimes of wisdom. I love it. So streaming defenses are incredibly important this time of year with the buys. Not only that, you got the kickers situation as well. The Patriots have a new kicker, Tooch.
Yes, got it. It's in my notes too, Joe. Thank you so much for mentioning. He's going to be a top waiver target. Kicker's been a hard position to nail down this year. I got to tell you, the kickers aren't going the way we thought they'd go, Joe. You know,
not at all.
Except for Greg Zuerlein. He's at
Justin
the top,
Tucker.
as usual. Justin Tucker is 6th. In the second position is Joey Sly. And a guy that I'm going to pick up this week, I'm going Gay, Joe. Matt Gay from Tampa Bay. He's available in 22% of leagues. He's the Tampa Bay's kicker. They're playing in London against the Panthers. And Will Lutz is number 4. Zane Gonzalez on the Cardinals, number 5. Behind him is Justin Tucker.
And Tooch, I know Shane Marsaw's in the chat room.
He's flaming me. He's been flaming me all night.
Shane, please grab that audio saying, Joe, I'm going gay. Please. I want that to be a new drop. So, or you can.
Well, that's my fault for my bad jokes, Joe.
I love it. I'll grab it as a drop, and it'll probably end up in a song. It'll be on 100 proof. You know it will.
Now, Dr. Phil is going to use that for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Oh yeah, we do have one question about kickers in the chat from Harp. Cody Parkey, is he worth picking up this week, Tooch?
No. Is that Shane?
No, that's Harp.
Harp. Okay, I would say no.
Because he got signed by the Titans.
Yes, yeah, I would say no. I hate Cody Parkey. He's cursed. But
watch him have like 20 points
for somebody. Like Chris Boswell of the Steelers is available in 11% of leagues. Brandon McManus on Denver is available in a lot of leagues. And
Mike Nugent, Tooch.
Zane Gonzalez, yeah, Mike Nugent is available too. So he's the Patriots kicker now. Shane flaming me now for my Parkey comments, but
yes. He says, "Bite your tongue." He's talking to Harp about playing Parkey, and to Harp's defense, they are playing in Denver with that air, but it's not going to help Parkey. Let's be honest.
All the air, all the hot air in the world ain't going to help him.
Drink it down. Drink it all down. But
so give the listeners in the chat room a little preview of Shy Fans in the Stands coming up right after this, Joe.
Yeah, Tooch, we're going to be recapping Greg Braggs' London trip, man. He was over the pond. He was there for an amazing trip. He met Berlissimo and all
he had
other...
my ticket, Joe. These are real tears. These are real tears, Joe.
Oh boy, yes, I forgot about that.
I was stuck in Iowa at my job with no days off, but love my job. I love my new home here. Miss everybody, miss you guys at work and all that stuff. But I was gonna go. He's with my Berlissimo has hosted me before. He gave me a nice tour of his hometown and the surrounding Midlands, and helped Maida move to the United States.
God bless Berlissimo, and
my wife,
of course, and God bless your wife as well. But piggybacking off what Tooch was talking about, Shy Fans tonight, we're going live in about 4 minutes. We have 2 great Bears fans joining the show that were at Tottenham Stadium with Greg. You got Terrence Young and then Nick Verhaag. I think that's the right way to say it.
Oh, wonderful.
And then, of course, Greg Braggs Jr. will be addressing his Twitter suspension, and we'll be talking about his life in Twitter jail. So Tune in for Shy Fans in the Stands coming up here in just a few minutes.
You need to ask Braggs one question from me. I DM'd him a little text about bringing back English candy. So if you find out for me, if he grabs some of that great English candy they have over there, it's so different from what we have in the States. You know, wine gums, a Cadbury, chocolate, and Maltesers. Oh, so good. Ask Barillissimo. Barillissimo sends me candy from time to time. So
there you go.
So does Midas friends still from the United Kingdom. But yeah, the English chocolate, very nice, Joe.
Oh, I can only imagine. It sounds so good, Tooch. And I will be living vicariously through Greg's trip and his interviews this in a few minutes. So make sure everyone...
He tweeted out a beautiful picture of an English breakfast. Another great thing too. So English do the breakfast right. Yeah, it's Oh, that was before he was suspended though. Before he got suspended, I DM'd him.
Shane says Tooch DM'd a guy that's suspended from Twitter.
Well, nice. It was before he was still in England then.
Oh, geez, that's some funny stuff, man.
Yeah.
But
yeah, poor Greg. Tell Greg I love him, and Joe, have a great show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, sir. Of course. Thank you for joining me, Tooch, as always. And for everyone out there, don't forget, why am I drawing a blank here? Gerald Everett, the #1 waiver claim this week, guys.
Yep. Mike Nugent.
And Mike Nugent for the kicker for the Patriots. So
yep.
Take those nuggets, get those guys, and win your leagues. If you have questions, always hit us up on Twitter at FFBGoon, at Joe Mandel, and at Santucci_John. But Tooch, thank you so much for joining me, buddy. Always a blast talking fantasy with you.
My pleasure. I'd like to say good luck this week to all the Barflies as well, and I will talk to you all next week.
You know it, Tooch, and the way we end every single show, God bless America, God bless football, and let's kick some ass.
So long, farewell, I'll be there saying goodnight. I hate to go and leave this pretty sight.